You know, Ronnie, I use DoorDash all the time to get food from restaurants, but what's really cool about it is that you can also use it for groceries and like tons of stuff. Home essentials, pet food would be good for you. I mean, there's actually so much more than just restaurant delivery.
Oh, I know. I use them all the time for all sorts of things.
I love to cook. You love to cook. And I can't tell you how many times I am midway down my recipe and I realize I am out of something and I just can get some nice fresh veggies delivered to my door super quickly to finish that meal.
And the DoorDash app allows you to customize, you can substitute, you can schedule and track your order, and you can communicate with your shopper while you're receiving real-time updates.
I know. It's kind of like an all-in-one solution for our lifestyles.
You can shop with DoorDash and enjoy big savings. Use code CRAPPINS24 to get 50% off up to a $10 value on $15 minimum subtotal on your next convenience, grocery, or retail order. For eligible users only, terms apply.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah.
What you're hearing are the sounds of people everywhere putting on Bombas socks, underwear, and T-shirts made from absurdly soft materials that feel like plush clouds. Yeah, that plush. And the best part? For every item you purchase, Bombas donates another to someone facing homelessness.
Bombas. Big comfort for everyone. Go to bombas.com/Wondery and use code Wondery for 20% off your first purchase. That's bombas.com/Wondery. Code Wondery.
Watch what crappens. Who cares what happens when there's so much that crappens? Watch what crappens. Who cares what happens when there's so much that crappens?
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is part 2 of a 2-part recap. If you're wondering where part 1 was, well, go check in the feed and be sure to subscribe.
So she's like, but you have to judge on character and intent. Yeah, your character is to do this shit over and over, and your intent is never to learn your fucking lesson and then to argue every time anybody calls you out on it. I mean, what good intent is there in that?
You know, Dorit is so hell-bent on being understood by more than just her word, like her poor word choice here. And yet she's completely unwilling to see greater context and nuance from what Garcelle is saying. And that's what drives me nuts about this.
So she's like, I would never do anything deliberately to hurt you. Yeah, she said that. She said that she doesn't think you're a racist and you didn't do it deliberately. And she said it was unconscious Karen behavior. You are now making this a whole segment and you're forcing us to even sit here and make it worse than it is for you because you're such a dumbass. Like she's she's giving you a pass to just move on and you're refusing to move on. So now as happens all the time on these shows, instead of just saying sorry, Dorit has to make herself the most offended out of anybody here because no one was racist to her, but they have insinuated that she is a racist, which is the worst thing that could ever happen.
Yes,
to a Karen,
And she's like, and by the way, and then she keeps saying this. She's like, I would never do anything deliberately to hurt you. And by the way, if I do, by the way, tell me. I'm like, what part of this segment is this? What do you think this all is? So then Garcelle finally is like, okay, I'm going to just destroy her right now. And she's like, you were attacked by strangers. You were robbed. You were at gunpoint. You were attacked. You know the difference. You lived the difference, okay? Strangers in the house with guns and your children in their bedrooms, which is horrific. But yet you say to me that I attack you when you know what an attack is. I mean, it was like, oh, wow. Garcelle was like, basically like, shut up.
Well, a couple of things on that is one of them is, did they skip something? Because I could have sworn they showed it in the preview, Dorit saying, I had a gun held to my head after Garcelle said this, but they didn't show that in this part.
They didn't show that. It went right to commercial.
And also, the Garcelle thing, her saying that, it's true, but it's also like using her trauma or whatever against her.
But she had
to. And I feel like just watching, I don't think she had to. And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm just saying from a tactical standpoint, Dorit really could have jumped on that and been like, oh, really? So now you're pretending that you care about my trauma? You literally made jokes about it this season when you said, I haven't been this surprised since Dorit showed up with purses that she claims were stolen from her home
looks like
or something like
that next week.
So I was surprised. But Dorit just kind of stands there blinking, but also in that confused way. Like, she's just bullied me, but I don't know how to say it without saying the word bully. So I'm just going to sit here and blink.
Right. Yeah. But I thought it was a great point, because what she's basically saying is, when you say that I attacked you, yes, the word attack gets thrown around, it gets used hyperbolically in conversation. But when you say it to me, especially in the context of you having already had several microaggressions towards me.
Right. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, for the people who don't get it, it's like you are establishing, you're setting a tone. You're making people think that I'm as dangerous as those people who broke into your house, on a certain level. But Dorit's like, but I don't get it. So we go to commercial break, and then we just kind of, we've just moved on from this whole, well, actually, we haven't moved on. We now go to Annemarie, who's like, I'd like to say something. And she says, I just want to say that when you guys were having this conversation and you said to Dorit, don't call black women angry, you don't call them aggressive, when we were sitting at Sutton's store and I was, unfortunately, talking about your esophagus, Sutton said to me,
when I was unfortunately asking about your esophagus. What a sentence. Wow.
I know. What a way to set a scene. She's like, Sutton said to me, why are you yelling at me? Why are you yelling at me? When I was clearly not yelling at her. And you were right there, Garcelle, and you didn't say anything. And that does not make sense.
Well, that's true, but you didn't say anything either. So she's not coming at you for not standing up for her. She's standing up for herself. So these two things aren't really equal. On the other hand, she's correct. Sutton, that was shitty of Sutton.
Yeah, I definitely
we called that out. Not really loving someone on the show doesn't mean they're wrong all the time, and she's kind of right on that. But to make that Garcelle's responsibility, you haven't stood up for Garcelle at all. Garcelle's standing up for her fucking self. And you're not helping her with that either. So I don't know what you're sitting here about.
Yeah. And Garcelle's like, well, we all yell at each other. And Emery's like, no, I'm talking. She's like, I'm a black woman too. And this is like somebody weaponizing me as a black woman, trying to make me look aggressive. And Garcelle's like, well, you can stand up for yourself, and you were doing a perfectly fine job at that the entire night.
And she's like, but I'm still talking. So I was being weaponized as a black woman, which I'm not really. I see what she's trying to get. She's trying to just come through for Dorit here, but
because she says that the person
everything she's saying is just. Yes, and Dorit could get it in that moment too. By the way, because they show a clip of that when Dorit's like, she's not yelling at you, Sutton. Dorit can kind of get it when it's not her, which I guess is human nature in a way. But she's like, Dorit stood up for me, and Garcelle just goes. She does her. Okay.
Yeah. Garcelle's like, Garcelle's basically like, I don't like Annemarie. I don't want to stand up for her. So Andy is like, all right, well, I want to get back to Dorit. I want to get back to the cast member who's going to be here next season. So did you and Garcelle finish this? And Dorit's like, well, Garcelle labeled me. And, you made an assumption. She goes, well, we were good. And you labeled me as angry or, well, attacking. You labeled me as attacking.
So then, it's just more of this. Dorit's like, well, and she's like, well, that changes everybody's perception of me when they meet me, because now they're seeing me as an attacker. And she's like, well, I didn't label you as attacking. And she says, you literally said you attacked me, Dorit. She goes, yes, but on this show, we use that all the time. Roll the bean footage, the beautiful bean footage. We always say attacked. We always say it. And they're like, Dorit, it's different when you're talking to a black, they're trying to explain this shit to her. She doesn't get it. And she's like, but what's even worse is you said I live in a bubble.
I don't live in a bubble. I'm married to a bubble. That's all. So we see this thing. We see Garcelle saying that she lives in a bubble. And Garcelle is like, yeah. And then you went online and you said, happily living in my bubble. You doubled down. It's just like, wow, this girl really is clueless. And we see Dorit in her photo where she's like, happily living in my bubble. And
what an idiot. And Dorit's like, but in hindsight, I guess that was a mistake. And she's like, then why didn't you take the post down? And Crystal's like, didn't you do it twice? You posted 2 times about it. And she's like, no. I did it the one time, and then the next time I did it to clarify.
Yeah, the second one was like, I live in a love bubble.
I'm extremely happy to live in my bubble.
Okay. Yeah. So they're like, okay, whatever.
I just wanted to make it better. So I said, I live in a love bubble with other white people. Just so nobody could take it the wrong way.
Do you really believe that I was doing that to stick up my middle finger? And Garcelle's like, well, that's what it was perceived as. And Amy's like,
yes. Everybody's like, yes, Dorit.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't really land. I mean, did you think it landed? Because it really didn't land.
They're just kind of making fun of her now because, like, she's just such an idiot. She goes, okay, fine. Well, I didn't want to leave it like I didn't care, like I was sticking my middle finger up, which is why my third post said, suck it, everyone who's not white. This is my fucking bubble, bitches. And gave 2 middle fingers. Dorit, no, Dorit.
So Garcelle's like, she's like, so then Dorit's like, I just thought that there were very big accusations, Garcelle. Very big accusations. And she's like, yeah, well, so is the word you use for me. All right, okay. Listen, 2 things can be true, right? And I think one thing I've learned is it's really important to kind of just listen and say less, maybe bullet point size in situations like this, okay?
Which is why I've let you go on for 30 minutes about it. Okay, so enjoy that hole you've dug for yourself, Dorit. It's going to be fun visiting you at the bottom of that well. Okay, what should we talk about next? And Erica's like, we need to take a break because I need one. Okay, I need to take a vindication pee. Oh, got it, still got it, baby.
Boys, I have one last question. Tell me this, riddle me this, Garcelle. Do you like me? Sometimes. Oh, do you have a problem with me? Well, there's something obviously. Obviously. Do you want to even try to work through? Do you want to try to have a friendship?
I'm not sure. Dorit's so full of shit. Have you called Garcelle since filming stopped? Have you gone to lunch? Have you made any kind of effort to have a fucking friendship? Shut up with that.
Have you gone on a brisk 10-mile walk with her?
No kidding. You've done the equivalent of lie down on the sidewalk as far as this friendship with Garcelle has gone. So please.
Well, I want to move on, and obviously our work with you 2 is not done. So let's shift to something not so heavy. If you ever hear someone in this group moaning with pleasure, it's usually over a Birkin or some diamonds. But when it comes to sex talk with the Beverly Hills women, are not afraid to let their freak flags fly. Watch this segment that's hilarious and shows just how wacky and sexually open they really are. And they're like, what's scissoring? Have you heard of scissoring before? Oh my God, scissoring. I'm like, wow, look at them. Cutting edge.
You gotta love all these women in Hollywood acting like they're the most pristine, untouched, little innocents that have ever walked the face of the earth. They're like, what? Homosexuality, whatever is it? Women can't be gay. They don't come up with any jokes for the confessional. I've not heard one from a woman.
So Annie's like, all right, Garcelle at Magic Mike, you seem to line up with the dancers in the abs in your vicinity. What was it that caught your eye? Was it that, the abs, or was it something else?
So they talk about this Magic Mike stuff, and then they start trying to get under Crystal. And he's like, okay. Felicia from Rashad says, Crystal, what was up when you said Dorit hasn't seen a real body part in 10 years? Whoa, Dorit, what's your reaction to that? And she goes, well, I'd love to see exactly what everyone thinks about me, besides my square boobs, is fake. Anybody? Name one thing. I was like, girl, your eyes are a different size. Your nose is... You know that pictures of you in high school are on the internet, readily available, right? There is no shame in your game. Whatever you've done looks fantastic and fairly natural. I think even your boobs. I think people should leave her square boobs alone, personally. That's just what they say on the internet. But listen, you paid for it. You should brag about it.
Crystal's like, I was just being funny. Oh, funny. Got it.
Is it?
Got it.
Is it?
You know what I think is funny? Veins. How do you feel about that, Crystal? Veins. My veins. So Andy's like, Sutton, while you were on the bull, Erica said, if Sutton's bull riding skills are anything like her dick riding skills, it's no wonder she's not getting a second date. Ha! Rebuttal. Anyway, it's just more stuff.
Sutton's like, no. I like that Sutton doesn't fall for it. She's just like, no, not really. You know what? Riding bulls is hard, but riding the other thing is much easier. Sutton, if you can't even say dick, it's not much easier, okay? Sutton doesn't ride. You know Sutton doesn't ride anything.
No,
Sutton barely rides in a car. Okay.
No.
Sutton is she's like counsel without a W. She's just a layer. She just lays there. You know, I'm the same way. I don't do any riding. I make no effort, and I can see that in other people. I see the low effort in other people. You know, it takes one to know one. You're a layer. Just accept it.
So Andy eventually is like, Kyle, in season 10, we saw you very finicky about the implication that you and Teddy were romantically entangled. But now that you're scissoring Dorit, and you're saying you would date a woman, what's changed?
Well, Andy, like, I'm totally different, you know, because, like, I was raised in a certain way where it's like, oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. I'm like, you know, whatever. But, like, now it's more trendy to be gay. And also, like, I met a very popular person who's a lot younger than me and has, like, better Q ratings than me and who happens to be gay. So, like, I'm willing to give it a shot now.
Son's like, and I don't think any of us would be judgmental or care. I know we would be supportive. Son's basically doing the parent thing where you're trying to say to your kid, we know you're gay, just come out of the closet. We'll still love you, but I don't want to out you, so I'll just say, whatever path you choose in life, we support you no matter what. And if you'd like to maybe share that path with us, no, not yet. Okay, that's fine. But if you choose a path, regardless of what path that might be, we're here for you.
That's cute. I love your path. That's a good path. That was not my path. My path was like, your shrink told us you're gay, and if that's the case, enjoy hell, okay? Enjoy not living in this home, okay? You can enjoy that. You can have fun with that. Are you gay or not? I was like, fuck yeah, I am. Dick for life. And they're like, get out.
Maybe that was Big Kathy's approach. So now we go to a commercial break. And all right, well, let's talk about the new wife. Busy mom and fitness fanatic Annemarie was rated an 8.5 by her husband, which, to be fair, is a solid B. But questions about her job title and son's esophagus had Crystal calling her a B. Get it? Because it's like, one's a B, the other one's a B also, but the one B stands for bitch, but the other B stands for, like, okay. Ha! So good.
Do you think she was a C when she calls you a B? God, I love great talk. So then we see the Annemarie package, which is, you know, extremely tiring. And this was another time when Kyle denied a friendship with someone because she was pretending to be friends with Annemarie at the beginning of the season, and the reaction to her has been lackluster, to say the least. Yeah. And Kyle has been in interviews like, I barely even knew that woman. You know?
Wow,
so that's just how Kyle rolls, you know?
Wow. I have to say, there's something really weird. I don't know. I actually almost feel bad for Annemarie. I feel like she came into the show and she had such a, like, she flopped so hard in a way that I feel like she's been, like, I don't know, like, somehow I actually feel, I don't know why, I've never felt so bad for someone flopping, because we've seen flops. I mean, look at what's-her-face last season, Diana. Like, we've seen big flops.
Well, people hated her too. I mean, people were, you know, really hateful of her too.
Yeah. And Annemarie, it's, you know what it is? It's like, she reminds me of that Simpsons episode. Was it like Homer or something, where he just keeps on stepping on rakes and they just keep hitting it right in the forehead? And I'm like, I actually am like, I don't know. I have like a weird thing. I feel bad for her. Even though she has had problematic views about things, I don't know.
She is the worst. Her husband is the worst. And she only makes it way worse for herself today. Even though she tries the whole crying thing. Like, oh my God, you guys, being on TV is like so hard. Like, no one prepared me for how mean people are. It's because you suck.
I think
you came on here and you immediately started bullying somebody because you wanted to be cool with Kyle, who, like, you considered the lead of the show. And she also considers herself the lead of the show. And you immediately started going after somebody just to be cool to this other chick. That's not a good person, you know? And then this whole doctor versus nurse thing and trying to make it that everyone's attacking your profession, which is absolutely not true. She just says, you just listen. I just want it to be clear. It's nothing personal. You just suck as a person. You know what I mean? It's like That's your issue. You've foisted yourself and your terrible views on everybody else. Like, I'm not going to feel bad for you. Sorry. I do feel bad for her about her mom thing. That stuff's not cool. Obviously, we're not going to make fun of that. But the rest of it is your own fault. Like, I'm not going to sit here and feel bad for you that people gave you shit all season. You were awful this season, and you continue to be awful in this reunion. And then you went and you tripled down on awful on your Instagram, which we'll get to in a little while. So,
I didn't see that.
Lady.
Okay, well, maybe you can help me snap out of it, because I'm not normally this sympathetic to flops. But,
listen, you like who you like. I feel like it's important.
No, I sometimes get sometimes I just will feel bad for someone. Like, I don't know, they pull my heartstring, and I'm easily manipulative. Listen, Kyle would run circles around me because I can be manipulated so easily.
It's time for a commercial. It's time for a Crappens commercial.
So, but this was also classic Andy Cohen. So some questions about like the 8.5. Like, hey, what do you rank your husband? Well, he's an 8.5. Ha 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 ha. Okay. I want to express my condolences to you. I know your mom recently passed.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about her? So she's talking about her mom. She's sobbing basically because she lost her mom, which is devastating. Her mom had a tumor. Very, very sad. She was dealing with it. Actually, during the entire show, while they were shooting, she was compartmentalizing. She's sitting here on the sofa, crying, tears coming down her cheeks, like barely able to get words out. And he's like, yeah. All right, well, I want to make a little bit of a right turn. Okay, bringing back one of the first times we met you on the show, you really wasted no time kind of calling things as you saw them. Remember you were like, I'm going to be an opinionated newbie. So anyway, you seem really confident. You want to talk about that first dinner party you came into? And she's like still, like, it's like a hard pivot out of, like, her mom stuff right into, like, gossipy shit with the season. I was like, could you, like, let this lady have a moment? Jesus.
Yeah, like maybe come back in a different segment. You know what I mean?
No.
But it's also manipulative to the audience in a way, because it's like, okay, let's put everything we could let's muster up anything we could feel for this person before we go into what an asshole she was for the rest of the season. You know, it feels kind of, it's like a Lisa Vanderpump on Vanderpump Rules kind of move. Like, Tom has gone through so much, everybody, so let's say our favorite thing about Tom. I'm getting that vibe from Andy right now. But I did like that he basically makes her start sobbing, and then he goes, I'm so sorry that you're going through that. Let's pivot. America hates you.
I know. Well, I always do speak my mind, and I'm always very honest with, like, the things that I observe, and I say it because I feel like that's, like, truly the only way to get to know people. Yeah, well, guess what? It wasn't all positive feedback. In some viewers' eyes, you could do no right. What was the hardest part about the negative feedback? By the way, here's some more tissues since you're still crying because I invoked the death of your mother. Okay, try to answer both at once.
So she's like, I'm an athlete, so I'm used to being criticized. I'm married to Marcellus. I mean, he calls me a B all day. So, everybody's telling me, like, you need to do better. Like, I get it, but I did internalize this, and it really hurts me when people are mean to me. And he's like, yeah, there's really no prepping anybody for the monsters you become. And like, people really do. And that's true. People really are hard on these people on these shows, like, hello, me, us. And I get it. So maybe some of it's guilt watching it, but I'm like, don't blame me for this. Of course, I have to project my own feelings. I'm like, oh, really? So now it's all my fault, huh?
It was Andy Cohen's fault. Didn't you read the lawsuits? So then he's like, so what did you think about Crystal when you first met her? And she's like, Crystal was awesome off camera. And then when the cameras went up, it was just like a different tune. He's like, yeah, well, we all saw you tell Garcelle when you first met Annemarie, like, she claimed to be a doctor. So, by the way, anesthesiologist and anesthetist are two very similar words. Is it possible you misheard her? Crystal's like, no, my sister, the one who didn't abandon the family, Jeff. I've got a sister who's an anesthesiologist. So we had the conversation, and you said, I'm an anesthesiologist. And I said, oh, my sister's an anesthesiologist, and she has a private practice at Cedars. And you said, oh, well, I'm a nurse anesthetist. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. Well, people, and you said people don't know the difference. I'm like, I kind of feel like maybe Crystal misheard this one. I don't know. I actually have a really hard time believing, putting everything aside, all the bullshit that Annemarie has said, all the esophagus stuff, which is So like she definitely like misstepped there. I just have a hard time believing that she would say she's a doctor when she's a nurse.
She continues to, even to this day. Even here, she does it again. I mean, she went on her Instagram a few weeks ago when the Association of Anesthesiologists came for her and posted that thing about her. She's basically like, well, she goes into it right now, but I totally 100%, because of her own words, believe that she did. Because I didn't before. I thought Crystal must have heard it. She wouldn't have said, I'm an anesthesiologist. She would have said, I'm a nurse anesthetist. And Crystal heard it as, because they're so similar, right?
Right.
She misheard it, but it's what Annemarie has said after that, and even right now, that makes me believe, oh, she totally said that, and she's making it worse for herself by digging her heels in about it. So she's like, look, I'm going to tell everybody now what really happened. So when Crystal and I first met, she said, I'm a housewife. And Chris was like, no one talks like that. I would never be like, hi, I'm a housewife. I mean, who talks like that? She goes, well, the only reason I'm not over talking you right now is because I'm not going to do that today. So she starts doing that thing where like, I'm right because you look like a Looney Tune because you're upset and I'm not upset. Right. So suck on that. So Crystal doesn't give a fuck, right? So it doesn't work. And she goes, you've been proven to be a liar, so I don't even care. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. She goes, did you not say that I said that she had an eating disorder twice? You're a liar, Annemarie. That's it. You're a liar. And she's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. We'll get to that. We'll get to that. She goes, you've proven to be a liar. So Dorit's like, I think liar is a very, very strong word. I would use aggressive.
all of a sudden, Dorit is caring about word choices.
Dorit suddenly
he's like,
has a threshold.
The attention.
Yeah.
So Andy's like, well, I'm curious, who do you believe? And Erica's like, well, I knew she was a nurse anesthetist. Redemption. And Grizzle's like, well, of course, because you're on the show. We're still talking about it. And Kyle's like, she told me on camera what she did, and I still thought she was a doctor, which is funny because I thought after all those years of performing on hit TV show ER, I would know the difference, but I don't know.
You would think Kyle, method Kyle over there, you know.
There's Dory.
And she's like, well, I'm just dumb, so like I believed it, so I can believe that there would be, you know, that's always Kyle's thing. Like the article's too long, so how am I supposed to get mad at Erica? Who's supposed to read that whole article? You know, it's Kyle. Like, we're just dumb, so...
I know.
That's always Kyle's argument. So Crystal's like, no, I think you just intentionally misrepresent because people don't know the difference. So then Annemarie does her whole... Let me explain why it's a big deal. The American Society of Anesthesiologists and the American Association of Nurse Anesthesiology. There's a war going on. There's political issues that exist there. And Kyle's like, is it because you guys basically do the same thing? Okay. Well, where did Kyle get that? She got that from Annemarie. Annemarie told Kyle that. So she's trying to stick up for her with information she gets from Annemarie, which, of course, Annemarie is like, yes, it's the same thing. It's just, well, they can't do the same thing. It's just, basically, it's for a different price. So Drew's like, yes, they're paying less to the nurses, but the nurses do the exact same thing.
I don't feel like that's true.
So that's why I'm saying that I believe that Annemarie says this, because Annemarie is the one filling their heads. And Annemarie even says right now, we do the exact same thing. It's just we get paid less and there's a war going on. So listen, I've said it before. You're not a slouch for being a nurse anesthetist. That's an 8-year degree. Okay. That is something to be proud of. There's no shame in that. But to say that being a nurse is the same as a doctor is just not the truth. It's not the truth. It's not the same.
I think that Andy puts it best. Somewhere in here, he says, it seems like you blur the lines. So I don't feel like she said I'm a doctor, but I think what I personally, as Ben Mandelker, would feel more comfortable saying is, yes, it seems like she does blur the lines. Like we even see in the flashback when she and Crystal are fighting at that party, and Crystal says something, and Annemarie goes, oh, did you go to medical school for whatever years? And it's like, okay, so she's almost implying that she went to medical school, which I don't know if nurse anesthetists do go to medical school or not. I mean, quite frankly, I don't care because, you know, it doesn't detract either way from what they do. But I can see, again, how statements like that could blur the lines. And either way, it's definitely a full-on mess. By the way, I love the anesthesiology and anesthetist turf war. Like, I hope that's like the next big HBO drama. Like that's the next Game of Thrones is like house anesthetist versus house anesthesiology.
It's like Game of Thrones, but everything is represented by 3D, like oxycodone, you know?
Yeah, I don't think it'll do well. I think it'll really put the audience to sleep.
Get it, darling. But it won't be as painful to watch. So that's something. So just so people know, a nurse anesthetist, because this is also very hard for gay people, so I don't appreciate it. I would appreciate you both reconsider what you call yourselves.
Especially someone like me who has teeth aligners in and now has like a bonus lisp.
I've got gay tongue. How am I supposed to have this conversation? So an anesthetist, a nurse anesthetist, is a medical professional who assists physicians with administering anesthesia to patients. An anesthesiologist is a licensed physician who administers anesthesia to patients before operations. Okay, come on. I can't have this argument anymore. Too many essays.
I can't. The point is this, that there are definitely blurred lines, but I also feel like there are blurred lines, but I do have a nagging sense that Crystal may have also misremembered something because it was like a year later. I don't know. It's like a little.
But Annemarie is admitting it. She's basically saying we do the same things. So she's still saying the same thing even now, which is why I think she's purposely blurring the lines. So Crystal's point, I think, is valid. She's like, listen, you're weaponizing your profession against Sutton. You're saying that you have all this knowledge and that's why Sutton is XYZ, not to quote Larsa. And Annemarie's like, well, here we go. And she said, yeah, it's like when, but it's the truth, basically. So Andy's like, well, Annemarie, why did Sutton's story about her esophagus bother you? And she goes, well, I guess it's like the way they presented to me. Because, like, I want to say this, watching it back and watching how I behave, like, I just want to apologize to you because I can't even tell you how much I hated watching it. All of those 4 hours that I kept trying to tell everybody over and over. And that's the thing. It's not like it was just 5 minutes. You just kept going for episode after episode after episode.
Well, she probably thought like, okay, this is my way in. This is my feud. This is my storyline. And I'm sure that Kyle probably was coaching her too. Let's not overlook that. If we want to have a conspiracy theory based off of nothing, but also based off of watching this show for so many years, Kyle was probably like, go after Sutton for this. This is good. This will be good TV. So Sutton's like, well, you know what? I wasn't angry about the esophagus. It was the going behind my back and talking about an esophagus. Here's one of my things I tell my friends. You can say whatever you want to my face, but if you talk about my esophagus behind my back, that's going to be a deal breaker for me.
I really prefer face-to-face esophageal wars. That's what I prefer. And so she's like, okay, well, I just want to say, I'm really, really sorry. The end. Very sorry. And she's like, okay, thank you. And Dorit's like, well, that felt so genuine, didn't it? I mean, even Garcelle's not screaming and yelling about it.
And it's a lesson learned. We all make mistakes in this group. God knows we all make mistakes. Just look at Crystal and her entire storyline this season. What a mistake to bring her back, right?
So they go on break, and Kyle's like, guys, listen to this. Listen to what Vanderpump did. This is hilarious. Yep, second week in a row, bringing up Vanderpump. Love her. Gotta love her. So she met with Crystal, and she was like, oh my God, who are you? And Crystal's like, I'm a housewife, which I think is funny because they just had the argument where Crystal is arguing that she would never introduce herself that way. Right. And it just so happens that she is forced to introduce herself that way to Lisa Vanderpump. Right. It's so funny to me. So Crystal's like, I had to say I'm on the show. And Vanderpump said, she's like, oh my God, you are? Is Kyle still even on that show? I mean, isn't that hilarious? She is literally like hilarious.
I mean, I think it is hilarious. That is some great shade by Lisa Vanderpump, but Kyle's presenting it like, oh my God, she's so bitter. I'm like, no, that was good shade. That was high level shade. And you fell right into it because now you mentioned it right on TV.
Yeah. So for the second week in a row, you're showing how much better Vanderpump was at you than this, Yeah. My favorite story is when Vanderpump saw Kyle and Alex Baskin, the producer, eating lunch and sent them her bill. Yeah. I think that shit's hilarious. That's one of my favorite. And Kyle got all ruffled and was telling the waiter, we will not pay for this bill. And Vanderpump had really left her credit card there because, of course, she was kidding. But just that Kyle got all worked up into a snit over it. Oh, Kyle. So I love that you're dressed like your personality when it comes to Vanderpump. Okay, so then Kyle's like, yeah, isn't that funny, you guys? So Andy's like, welcome back. Kyle is still spinning out of control years after she won. Hilarious.
Well, a few people in this group have accused Crystal of not speaking up, but when Annemarie made her blood boil, Crystal found her voice real quick. So we have Crystal's segment here, and Andy's like, well, you told Rob the reason you're so quiet in group settings is because you're preoccupied with how skinny everyone is. So she talks about that. She talks about how, it's been since she's 11, she's been comparing herself to everyone else's bodies and everything, and it's been really hard. And Andy was like, well, we saw a side of you we'd never seen before. You said bitch. Wow, that's wild. What is it about Annemarie in that moment that pushed you?
And she's like, listen, it was because she's accusing someone of having an eating disorder. Like, that's the worst thing to me because I have an eating disorder, And Annemarie's like, oh, I mean, there was like a lot more to that conversation. So it wasn't just that. There was a lot more. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You were also accusing her. Well, you did say, to be fair, that she either had an eating disorder or was an alcoholic. So you're right. There was more.
Right. But you did say that Crystal said it. And she's like, Crystal's like, are you ever going to apologize to me for saying that she had an eating disorder? And she's like, oh, I didn't say that.
I said she had an eating disorder.
Yeah, I said that she had it. I didn't say that you. I didn't say that you said that she had an eating disorder. I didn't. I just said that you had verbalized it, and words came out of your mouth that said she has an eating disorder. But that's totally different. And you know what? But by the way, I didn't say it. You didn't say it. No one said it. I believe that what we saw on TV was a deep fake. And unfortunately, this show has been infiltrated by Russian hackers. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry to the American people for that.
Yeah, right after just her humble apology to Seton, she's like, yeah, no one said it. No one said it. You definitely insinuated. You're not going to gaslight me, ma'am. It was multiple episodes that this went on. So Seton's like, well, good that you didn't say it because I don't have an eating disorder. So, I mean, there it is. Okay. And Andy's like, okay, well, let's go to Spain now. So then Annemarie claimed that Crystal called everybody on this show shallow, uneducated, fake socialites. Crystal, you denied it. Well, first of all, is she wrong?
She's definitely not wrong.
Are we going to get to that part?
Yeah. And Kyle's like, yeah. And I believe she said that because she intimated things like that by saying like, oh, those are some big words for you. I'm like, Kyle, you don't read past the headlines. So
you literally just said you won't read a headline. And you also just said that even when Annemarie told you what she did, you still didn't know the difference because you're just a dum-dum. So
Crystal's like, look, the reason why I said it is because, we have dumbass conversations all the time. I always say we have dumbass conversations because there's a bunch of dumbasses in our group. A lot of very, very dumb people who try to wear green the way I do, but don't look as good. That's you, Kyle. That's you, Kyle.
Now, just to be fair here, I 100% believe that Crystal said to Annemarie, I'm on this show, the Beverly Hills Housewives. Everybody on that show is a goddamn idiot. They're a bunch of bimbos who pretend they're socialites, but they're really all poor. I believe 100% that Crystal said that.
I think because Crystal's snarky. She's snarky as fuck. And I know that she was like, oh yeah, I'm on this show. I actually can see her saying, I'm a housewife. But not like I can see her saying it not like, oh, I'm a housewife who stays at home and like makes beds and stuff. I can see her saying it as like I'm on one of the Real Housewives. As like a joke.
Like I'm a Real Housewife.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? Because she's one of the, she's got that kind of
Carol Radswell
stereotypical millennial edge to her where she's like, I'm on the stupidest thing ever, like the most demeaning show ever, The Real Housewives of Beverly. It's like hilarious. I'm like on it, like, it's kind of ironic that I'm on it. I do it for the irony.
This is what Carol Radswell would always say when she was on Roni. She's like,
I kind of like being at the show. I feel like I'm with like my wacky aunts. It's just like fun to watch, but I'm not like a housewife.
Yeah, I think so too. So Annemarie is like, well, but also like another thing I want to say is like there have been like instances where you've been like less than truthful, Crystal. So like she goes, you're a liar, so don't throw rocks because you are constantly lying on the show. So I wouldn't do that. She goes, yeah, but like you admitted it. Like you spent 2 years trying to insinuate that Sutton was racist for saying something was so dark, but then you said, oh well, I lied about that. It was just a feeling I had.
No, I never made that up. Yeah, you lie about your 14 friends, and like now they'll lie about me, and I'm like, I don't want to be a part of that. Like, I don't want to be a part of like your system of lies. And Crystal goes, well, you're not part of it, so don't worry about it. So Andy's like, all right, cool. Wow, Crystal, feisty tonight. Good to see that. All right, more than the shallow or fake socialite allegations, Dorit, you seem particularly offended by the slight on your education. Why is that?
Well, I'm the only person here with a college degree. And they all start cracking up. Like Annemarie like falls over laughing. She's like, hello, you idiot. I'm basically a doctor. Did you not hear me?
Yeah.
So like, this was the Annemarie post on Instagram I was talking about earlier. But first of all, I'm going to do us both a favor and not read the whole thing because look at this. It's a wall of text.
I can't.
She even says a key to clear conscience and she puts a key emoji. So that's how you know it's super important. And it's bullet pointed with little arrows. Little rights. Bullets. So she's like, do not misrepresent the truth about someone else's character, career, or integrity. She didn't. You admitted to misrepresenting your own career. Do not backstab someone, then admit to them off camera that you lied about them for a storyline. What? She did not admit off camera that she lied about you for a storyline. Give me a fucking break. Do not, and that's a whole paragraph I won't go into. Do not repeatedly disrespect and diminish the healthcare workers' Oh, so now you're hiding behind the whole, I'm a healthcare worker, so you can't be mean. You are misrepresenting yourself over and over, even in this post, ma'am. Nurses are imperative. No one said nurses aren't important. Find your voice, but do so by building yourself up, not by having to try and tear down the same person down continuously. Always be authentically yourself, regardless of who's watching. Don't put on a facade to save your job. Oh, God, I can't. So
I can't.
The point is she doubles and triples down over and over. I can't with her.
Commercials. Here comes one right now.
You know what else I can't with? I can't with breaking news from Bravo.
Oh, well, you know, Peter.
Stop. That was really loud. I apologize. So when you went on to Instagram to look at Annemarie's thing, I then opened up mine to see what you were talking about, but I got sidetracked by some
very important news coming out of the for sale list counted register.
Vanderpump Rules alums Jax Taylor and Brittany Cartwright announced separation. It's on the news. So for everyone who wants to see two people trying to drum up publicity for the Valley, congratulations. You have done it, you two. Congratulations.
Yes, Jax has been angry that Vanderpump Rules is getting so much attention with this stupid cheating storyline that he has decided to blatantly rip it off for his own stupid show that we will be watching every moment of and not caring about. Coming soon.
Coming soon. Just wanted to put that right out there. We'll talk about it in Crappy Hour. Sorry to everyone whose ears were blown out by that jingle. I didn't realize it would be that loud.
It didn't sound too loud to me. But
okay,
you know what? What do I know? I'm a loud person.
Listen, it's a big day of podcasting today. So the point is this. Jackson Brittany's stupid. Annemarie's post too long. It needed bullet points also.
Hey, and that was the bullet point. That
was
you were
the doing
short
the bullet
version.
points. I'm saying it wasn't you. It was her.
No, it was me too. Because I say, you know what? And I have to say now, I love you so much, man. You're such a good friend. And I'm really glad that we do this show together because the sound of my own voice, my head would explode if I had to listen to myself that much in a row. You know, when I go on for that long, my head literally starts pounding. And it's not only because of self-hatred. I really do love you. You're a good partner.
Oh, thanks. I love you too. No, listen, we are both prone to monologuing. Listen, Lord knows I monologue. I have my board game podcast off to the side, and every now and then I'll edit like the episode. I'll put it up, and I see the waveforms, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? This waveform of my voice is going on for 2 minutes straight. That is not allowed.
I've had that waveform truth, God, where you just see your own waveform staring back at you, going on for hours and hours.
And you see someone else's, and it's like, their waveform is like half an inch, and yours is going on for like 5 inches on the final cut. It's mortifying. So don't you worry. Listen, it's all good.
Okay, so she's trying to get on Crystal basically for the whole Sutton thing, which was kind of awkward for Crystal, that whole thing ended with Crystal never being able to specify what dark thing Sutton had said and then just backing off. And I'm still not sure what happened with that, if it was that Crystal had called a truce with Sutton and decided not to throw Sutton under the bus any further, or if she really didn't have anything. I don't know what it was. But I do know it's not really Annemarie's to bring up as a newbie on this cast. You know what I mean? Stick to your own stuff.
If anything, it kind of lends, not credence, but it just sort of supports this idea that Annemarie did her homework and came on the show like with marching orders from Kyle to be like, this is what happened, now go. So anyway, so Dorit has now said that no one has a college degree except for her, which is hilarious. And Garcelle's like, by the way, you can still be smart and not have a college degree. And then eventually it turns out there's like 3 college degrees in the group. And Garcelle goes, but you know what, though? I'm going to stand by the uneducated comment based on you calling me a child bride because that is a disgusting thing to say. But little does Crystal realize that Dorit, an educated woman of the world, has a rock-solid response to this.
She actually brings another white lady in as her defense, which I think is hilarious. She's like, how dare you? They called Priscilla Presley a child bride.
Priscilla Presley, you know, of the Naked Gun movies. Luminary.
And Garcelle goes, oh my God, it's not that, it's the Asian. Oh my God, see, this is what I'm talking about. Does anybody not see what I'm talking about? It's like, what? So what's wrong with that? And Crystal's like, well, as an Asian person, child bride is equivalent to mail order bride. Do you know that? Do you even know that? And she's
That's
like,
some of my favorite things I get in the mail. That's what's wrong with that. I don't understand.
oh, really? Are we not supposed to let our children watch The Princess Bride anymore? I suppose we've got somebody offended about that too. But I don't know all the words.
Next, you're going to say that Hamaka Schlemmer is offensive because you order things in the mail from it. Wow, I didn't realize. I can't keep up.
She's like, well, I obviously know now, but it was a throwaway comment in my bubble, my confessional. And listen, it's not what I was insinuating. It was off the back of calling us intelligent. It's like, well, you're kind of on the nose right now.
Yeah, it was dumb. Well, the other thing is that Dorit was so mad when Crystal said, well, I was just saying something to be funny. And she's like, how could you? But now she's like, oh, it was just a throwaway offensive comment. No big deal.
And Kyle interrupts, and she's like, but the other part of it, like, you know, like saying that you're 12, I mean, that's like, you know, it's like something I say too all the time. It's like just a number. It's just like when you're saying someo's young, you're just like, well, I mean, what are they, 12? I mean, she goes, Kyle would know, you know, dating a 12-year-old and all.
But I like that Kyle's like, 12 is the number people say. I'm like, okay, Family Feud, thank you for answering the survey. Like, what? Give us a number that people say is an age that you are when you're being immature. 12, that's the number.
Number 1, survey says. Yeah, Kyle dating someone younger than her daughters, than some of her daughters. I'm sure she's going to love when people are calling Morgan 12. But we'll see. We'll see how that pans out.
So Crystal's like, yeah, well, you said I got married at 12. I got married at 24, and I had already gone to college, and I had built a company worth over $100 million. And Andy's like, the coconut water? Yes. I'm not going to name it by name because you don't have to deal with Bravo, so I'm just going to say whatever that was. So Dorit's like, that's amazing.
That is amazing. Wow. And might I add Beverly Beach.
So
gowns, wedding gowns with what's-a-buns, Buca de Pipa lemon room.
So for you to say that you were in college and getting all this education, building businesses, while I'm getting married at 12 years old is bullshit. It's a microaggressive comment.
Well, I understand. Whatever. My comment could cook French fries faster than a fryer.
So Andy's like, Crystal, you really found your voice this year and you used it so loudly. What message do you hope that we heard the loudest? She goes, well, I'm here and I'm actually loving it. So that's it. Okay, we'll probably demote you to friend of next season, but that was a nice try. Good job.
And it just shows Erica so bored. She goes,
I mean, it feels like a macroaggression, not really a microaggression.
Dorit just looks at her like, whose side are you on, Erica?
So now we have a commercial break. And we're back. And now it's a Kyle Richards thing. She's been working out. She's unrecognizable. She's got tattoos. She does fitness, doesn't do booze, whatever. How did this new Kyle fit in with her old friends? Let's take a look.
Then we talk about her friend who passed away. And Kyle talks about, it's sad. And then Andy's like, well, Dorit, it seems like all this, it seems like Kyle, you were disappointed in Dorit because she kind of stuck up for Kathy last year. And it was at the reunion when Kyle's just blubbering and crying and everything that anybody said, she was just like, you're mean. And Dorit said, Kyle, I think she just wants you to take some responsibility in this fight too. I mean, right. Really? I think all of us, even though we all know that Kathy is probably insane in the membrane, even we can see, like, Kyle, you're overplaying your hand a little bit. Like, for Christ's sake, And that's all she said. I didn't think she was so mean to Kyle.
Yeah, she's just like,
of course
I think she was trying to help them mend, in order for you guys to move forward, you have to also admit what you did. So Dorit's like, well, this is what I really want to get into because I really want to understand. Okay, first of all, I had a relationship with Kathy, which was independent of my relationship with you, and I don't want to get in the middle of that, but, I used to go to the gates of Kathy's home and say, Kathy, I'm your new friend, let me in, and she wouldn't let me in. And it was a lovely relationship that we had. So it's something I want to preserve.
And Kyle's like, you didn't know her as well as me.
That's what I'm saying. You barely knew her.
She's like, Kyle, I never spent time with Kathy, with you, up until she filmed the show. I'd never seen you together.
She's like, well, but like what I'm saying is like you met at my party. So my point is we were closer than you were with Kathy. I mean, we were so close. Okay, did I just say I wasn't friends with you because you don't exercise? No, I don't even think I...
How are you going to try and argue that you're so close with Dorit when you just made a big stink about how you're not close at all with Dorit? Make up your mind.
Right. Okay, only when... So Kyle's like, well, you seemed like really disappointed in her behavior. Like, basically Kyle's saying, off camera, you were like on Team Kyle and you were disappointed with Kathy. Then all of a sudden you weren't. And Dorit's like, well, but I would only be disappointed in Kathy when you would tell me stories that I never knew about from the past. And obviously I felt bad. But those were stories, and she's very wealthy and more famous than you are, so I don't know. I think I still am Team Kathy on this one a bit.
Yeah, but also your friend, if you're like, my sister's so mean to me, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's terrible. Like,
yeah.
What else are you going to say, So then also she's like, yeah, but all the stuff that happened in Aspen, you mean when you started screaming and yelling at Dorit and having a fucking meltdown at Dorit for an entire episode? You mean that? Because she's not holding that against you, which I think if anybody's going to hold something against someone from Aspen, she could have held that against you.
Totally. So, so basically, Kyle's just like really, trying to like pin Dorit down over this whole thing. And Dorit's like, I don't even follow, because Kyle says like, you're just following what the audience says. You just do whatever the audience agrees with, which is hilarious because that is literally Kyle's thing. That's what she's been trying to do for years and years. And Dorit's like, well, I don't even follow what the audience says. Some might say I live in a bubble. Hold back, everyone. I'm in my bubble over here. Bubbly.
And she's like, yeah, well, you knew the audience was like, rah, Kathy, so you were just trying to be on her side. Yeah, except the problem is the reason you yelled at her in Aspen is because she said the same thing. She was like, all Kathy is trying to do is tell you her feelings are hurt. And the audience hadn't seen it then. So they didn't know. She didn't know at that point whose side the audience was going to be. Kyle, you're failing. And also, so is I'm a temporary lesbian, so the audience will think I'm cool for 5 minutes. Okay? So then Dorit's like, well, that's not true. I don't follow the audience. And guess what? The audience doesn't follow me either. And Kyle's like, well, I mean, like, she just wants to be like on the side of the audience. She goes, that is the most hysterical thing. I mean, Garcelle's about to throw a chair over there. Garcelle wants to...
Hysterical. Absolutely hysterical. Funnier, Then Boy George putting a pie in my face in Peter Pan on Ice in Britain. So that's the end of the first part of the reunion. We got 2 more parts coming up. I really enjoyed it personally. I thought there were some really good. There were some moments where I went, oh. So that's always a good sign for me. And anyway, we still have some major recaps to go. Again, if you want to hear the Miami recap, that's going to be on our Patreon bonus this week. And then we will have on Friday our Summer House recap up. So a lot of big stuff. Be sure to tune in for it. Go follow us on Patreon. Get tickets to our European shows. Netflix is a joke. And you've got about 2 more days left to watch the crappies on streaming. So that's all the news. We'll catch you in the next one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Watch What Crappens would like to thank its premium sponsors.
Ain't no thing like Allison King.
Ashley Savoni, she don't take no baloney.
Stroll in the park with Caitlin Clark.
She's not just a Sheila, she's a Daniela. Itchels. Aaron McNicholas, she don't miss no trickolas.
She's never scary. It's the Green Fairy.
Jamie, she has no last namey.
Hava Nagila Weber. Know your worth with Jason Kurth.
She's the wind beneath our Jennifer Wing.
Sip some scotch with Jessica Trotch.
She's always supplying, it's Kelly Ryan.
Kristen the Piston Anderson. Let's give a kisserino to Lisa Lino. Megan Berg. You can't have a burger without the Berg.
The Bay Area Betches.
And our super premium sponsors.
Somebody get us 10 cc's of Betsy MD.
We're taking the gold with Brenda Silva.
Let's get real with Caitlin O'Neill.
Don't get salty with Christine Pepper. Can't have a meal without the Emily Sides.
Nobody holds a candle to Jamie Kendall.
She's not harsh. She's Jill Hirsch.
She's a little bit loony. Junie. My favorite Murdo, Karen McMurdo. We love him madly. It's Kyle Pod Shadley.
Let's go on a bender with Lauren Fender. We want to hang with Liz Lang. The incredible edible Matthews sisters.
Give him hell, Miss Noel.
She's the queen bee. It's Sarah Lemke.
Shannon, out of a cannon, Anthony. Let's take off with Tamla Plain.
She's quite the catch. It's Victoria Cotchett.
She ain't no shrinking Violet Kuchar. We love you guys.
Hey, Prime members, you can listen to Watch What Crappens ad-free on Amazon Music. Download the Amazon Music app today. Or you can listen ad-free with Wondery Plus in Apple Podcasts. Before you go, tell us about yourself by completing a short survey at Wondery.com/survey.